So you and your wife, you had very similar frequencies, but not all of them were sitting in the same positions.
Right.
And so that's where the differences come in. And some of yours actually were sitting in the same positions, right? So we spoke about that too. What does that mean in a relationship?
Right.
But, you know, with the 22 different frequencies, for instance, one of your dominant ones is the 6th frequency, and this is your creator frequency. This is actually your soul destiny. So we know, and we talked about this, you are here to create. You're constantly creating, and you've been creating from a very young age in different verticals, right? Different careers, but you're always creating.
What's up, good people? It's Eric Taylor, BigEAstrology, back with another amazing episode of my Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast. And today on episode 231, oh my goodness, Lucy, I have an amazing guest. She is a soul contract reader, teacher, guide, just an amazing woman, Miss Gellyahnah Aakhen.
You got it.
I'm trying. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you today?
Eric, thank you so much for having me. I am great, and I'm excited to have so much fun with you in this interview.
Oh, it is going to be fun. And I have to share with the audience. And, you know, for me, I don't truly get all that you do with your work. And I want to really explore to bring light to it for the audience today, because I was so blessed to experience a soul contract reading with you. And so I want to kind of go to the origins before you got into it. But as you know it or knew it, what is our soul contract and how do we identify it, and through what spiritual tools?
So our soul contract is the promise that we make to our higher self, our spirit guides, the creator, before we reincarnate and into any given life. And it's about what types of experiences your soul is going to have in any given life, and really what is your purpose. Right. And when I say your purpose, it's not usually just one thing, because most of us will bring in different karmic things to balance. And that's usually a big part of the purpose. And then there really is like an overarching soul destiny purpose. So there are many layers to our soul contract and our soul purpose and the reincarnation. But again, in a short summary, it's the promise that you make before your soul enters a physical body.
That is so beautiful. And see, for me, as I correlate that astrologically, that's exactly how I explain the natal birth chart. This is astrology is the map of your life. And the birth chart is kind of like a code or, you know, a description of what your soul selected before you reincarnated to Earth. And I always say, like, just imagine yourself in heaven up there with God, and you're on the motherboard, and you're like, oh, I've got to have some challenging experiences with my mom, and I've got to, do something with my dad and my brother, my sister, this, all these different things, and boom, and we select it, and then we come through the portal, right, our mother's womb, and then we're born. And so, when did you get pulled and drawn to this energy, and how did it actually manifest in your life?
Well, like most of us, when I was in my early, well, it wasn't early, I was 33. Okay. So 33, 34. And I was at a crossroads in my marriage, okay, as many people experience. And I was with him for 17 years. So just to give a little bit of context. So this wasn't like oops, I got married to the wrong person or anything like that. But I was at a crossroads, and I wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure what to do, because I obviously married him, for life. But anyway, so to shorten the story, we end up getting a divorce, and that kicked off my healing journey, which really goes hand in hand with the spiritual journey, because like me being who I am, like I said, for me, it's just hand in hand. It's one. So I literally, like, one thing led to the other, where like initially I remember I was part of like a meetup group, and somebody was having like a chakra cleansing sort of a course, and I was like, okay, that sounds good, and I went to that. And there, the gal that was running it, her name is Katie, and Katie and I, like, just, I mean, she's my soul sister. We're one of my best friends, and so there was this instant sort of recognition between us. And so I started doing work with her, which led to, the next thing and the next thing. And it was just one door after the other. And that's what I tell people.
Right.
You don't just get it all at once, but you have to start somewhere. And for me, it was literally finding a spiritual meetup class, which happened to be her. But of course, that wasn't a coincidence. I was clearly guided towards that, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, when I was 38, okay, so 33, 34, well, I should say 34, 35, the divorce comes through. 38 is when I discovered this work, which is, how to read your soul's contract. And when I discovered this work, it was like a watershed moment. Like it was like this whole physical reaction that my body was having. I saw an interview with my teacher on Gaia TV, right? That's literally how I discovered it. And before the show was over, I was like, I have to buy the book. I have to find him. I was so deeply involved at that point, and he was barely 10 minutes into the
right. And your soul recognized what it was meant to do here, right?
Absolutely. It was such a soul recognition, because I know I've done this work before. I tell people I speak soul contract better than I speak English. Like, I just get it, right?
I love that.
Yeah. And so I went down this rabbit hole that I never really came out from. Right. And so that's, I guess, logistically in this lifetime, that's how I rediscovered the work. But clearly I was put here for it. So.
Oh, definitely. And so, okay, so I've got to share some of your beautiful and amazing placements. Gellyahnah is a Sagittarius rising with the Aquarius moon in South Node in the third house. And the moon in the third house is in its planetary joy. We'll get into that sort of connection maybe with you and mom, because I do believe there's a past life connection with your mother, and she has the Gemini sun in the seventh house. So tell me, who was, and you are from Russia, correct?
A former Soviet Union, yes.
Soviet Union. Okay. So tell the audience, who was young Gellyahnah around 10 years old, and kind of like, give us a window into your early childhood and how you recognized in yourself, and maybe you really saw it later on, but that how you were very different or unique or weird or bizarre, right? These are the traits of the Aquarius moon in the third house for elementary school all those years. So I'm kind of curious how you saw yourself then, and could you have ever imagined being all that you are now?
Yeah, no, great question. So I'll give you some key memories that just always sort of stand out when somebody asks me a question like that. So I remember, so in Moldova, I lived up until I was 8, right? So we immigrated when I was 8. And so between 5 and 8, whenever I have these memories, but I just remember feeling like different. Like, I always felt like the kids around me didn't quite understand what I thought was obvious, right? Like, talking to adults, the kids sometimes would say inappropriate things, and I'm like, you're not supposed to ask that. Like, that's going to hurt their feelings. Or, that's like a small analogy, but I remember thinking things like that. And there was a few times where there were times when me and my friends, we would lay on the hood of a car at night and look up at the stars.
Wow.
And I remember thinking to myself, what's out there. And mind you, again, I was 8 when I moved to the US. So this had to be when I was 6,
Oh, wow.
7, 8. I mean,
So
it was
young,
really
yeah.
young, right. And I was just so, I don't know, I felt like the thoughts going through my head were not necessarily the thoughts that were going through my peers' minds. Okay, so those were some of my younger memories. And then when we moved to the US, well, okay, life was very different when we moved to the US from many perspectives. But
were you shocked?
I don't know that I was shocked. I think I was too young to be shocked because I was with my family, so it felt safe.
Yes.
It felt like an adventure.
And what about the language?
I did not speak the language.
Okay, so that was a challenge.
It was a challenge, but I learned to speak very quickly. So within 3 months, I was already speaking and then, translating for the family, being the mouthpiece. I came here in 3rd grade. By 5th grade, I was excelling in like above average of my peers.
Yeah.
So it didn't take me long to catch up and then, just to become a good student.
And I can see that with that Aquarius South Node in the 3rd house with the moon, your EQ, your emotional intelligence, just, how quickly you would, it has a marker of like a kind of like a brilliant, unique, weird genius. And I could see you just kind of being that sponge in elementary school here, coming 3, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, and just like boom, 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 just like data collection, getting all the information.
Yeah, exactly. And that is how my brain typically works, and again, I mean, I was young back then. I didn't, think much anything of it, but I remember, I'll give you another thing that I always remember. Like this was again in 3rd grade. So mind you, came to this country in 3rd grade. I don't speak the language. And we would have these reading groups where we would all sit in a circle and just read books.
Right.
And it came to me and I'm about, at this point I knew how to put the letters together. And I came upon this word and it was SUGAR. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, that's sugar. But I'm like, I think it's sugar. And I read it as sugar and I read it properly. Right. But it was like just this, no, I didn't even know that word. Like maybe I knew the word because maybe I heard the word sugar.
Right.
So I don't know. I was just able to put these concepts together, right? I'm telling you the workings of a young brain that's literally sponging up and trying to learn things. But yeah, life in the US was very different than, in the former Soviet Union. And part of it was also because there I was living with my grandparents.
Okay.
And here in the US, I moved in with my parents and my mom was pregnant. So 9 months after we moved, my baby brother was born, or like 7 months.
Wow.
Right. She didn't know she was pregnant, like during the whole immigration process.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was
were you excited about the baby brother?
I was very excited, yeah, because I've always wanted a baby sibling.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah, we're 9 years apart, so he was like my, first baby, really.
Yeah. That's really awesome. So could you, even in because I could see with the Gemini sun and the Aquarius moon, there's a lot going on inside of your mind. I would call it heavy mental. But the Gemini energy is extremely curious and inquisitive. And so before this, like, what was your career and what was like, because from the young girl, you probably didn't envision what you're doing now. And so what was your process, like high school, college, and then like, your first major or your first career?
Yeah, and I definitely did not envision this, but I share the story often. If you walked into my room in high school at any given moment, it looked like there was a seance going on in there because I had the candles, I had the incense, I had
really
like the books on astrology and numerology and handwriting analysis, like anything I could get my hands on. So it would almost be laughable if I didn't pursue some sort of something like this because I was so into it from such a young age, I've always been drawn to this, right? Like I would go to the mall with my friends, they would run off to Abercrombie and Fitch, and I would go to Glyphics or like whatever the psychic bookstore there was. Like that was my joy of going to the mall. Why else do I need to go to the mall, right?
I love that.
So that was always a thing with me. And I'll tell you, before I answer your question, I'll tell you one more thing. The moment I started to realize maybe there's something else different about me, I remember I was in high school and one of my good friends, I'm still friends with her today, she was telling me how she has a crush on this guy. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, you have a crush on him? He's like a black hole of energy. What are you talking about? And she's like, what? And I'm like, what? And I'm thinking to myself, does she not see this guy is like, blech, you know, like I don't know how else to describe it. Like just, he felt like a black hole that sucks energy and makes everything, you know, just dry. And
right, because anyway, you could see deeper and she had no clue.
Yeah, she had no clue. She still maybe has no clue, you know, because I think, you know, sometimes again, it was just whatever this intuition, whatever, and I don't necessarily see, but I read energy.
Okay. Do you see auras, or like what is it energetically when you're in the presence of a new human? Like, do you like, you know, is it kind of empathic? Is it because you have two interesting things in your first house, which is the only house of self as the Sagittarius Rising. You have the true black moon Lilith and Neptune. And so Lilith is really your gut instinct, your root chakra, pheromones, hormones, right? It does have some sexual energy to it, but it's very much our connection to God, source, creator, right? And then the Neptune is our spirituality, but it does kind of, and I'm curious to ask you about this, it's our imagination and creativity, film, photography, but it's illusion, delusion, deception. And in a way, did you feel like there was a veil or a fog over your I am energy? Did it take you a bit to kind of really understand who Gellyahnah was?
Gosh, maybe yes and no, because actually I feel like I've always had a pretty strong sense of self. I just didn't know how deep the self was, and maybe still haven't gone to the actual depth of self.
Yeah.
But I actually always felt like that same friend that I just told you about would say to me, you have some innate like understanding of who you are and self-worth. Like she would always say this to me, like you're just innately very strong in who you are and the rest of us are not.
Yeah, that Lilith, that combination there probably would kind of give you that strong intuition. Now, this is kind of just random. It just came to my head. Do you tend to like to do some spiritual work or even meditate by candlelight?
I mean, not so much by candlelight. I do a lot of energy work, but I usually turn the lights off, or you know, because my eyes are closed. So, I mean, sometimes I'll burn incense, but
okay,
yeah.
Okay, I was kind of curious about that. So, okay, so explain to the audience, what is the system? Like the soul contract reading, is it connected to the Kabbalah?
To Kabbalah.
To Kabbalah, okay, not to the Kabbalah. Okay, Kabbalah.
Right, yeah, they're two different things.
Very different.
Yeah, soul contract work is connected to the Kabbalah. And the way that it works is I work with people's birth name frequencies. So I take their name as it's written on the birth certificate, and I literally decode it into sound frequencies. And the sound frequencies that I'm using come from the Hebrew language, because Hebrew is one of the sacred languages that comes directly from source. Mm-hmm. So I decode it into the sound frequencies. I put it around a Merkaba, which looks like a Star of David for those that don't know what a Merkaba is.
Yeah.
And I'm able to see the karma that somebody brought into this lifetime, their unique talents, their goals, and ultimately, what is the core purpose of this life incarnation.
Wow. Okay, so now explain the numbers, because I was privy to, I mean, I had to share with the audience, it was one of the most powerful and confirming and interesting experiences that I've ever had in my life, where Gellyahnah, you know, read my chart for me, and also my wife. And you were going through the different numbers, but explain to people the scales and what the numbers range from, and maybe some insights. You can even use mine as an example, because I know I had some distinct things with 5s and 6s. And so can you explain like the meaning and the ranges of the numbers?
Well, a little bit, yes. Otherwise, I mean, we'll be here for days if we explain everything.
No, but I mean, the small intro level, because also this is fascinating, and I want people to kind of get a little window, because the reality is, I think everybody should do a soul contract reading with you. Honestly,
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So there are 22 different sound frequencies.
Okay.
And in anybody's star, I mean, when, again, because it's a star that I decode your name into, everybody has a unique star. So it's like a snowflake, so even though we may have similar frequencies, right? So you and your wife, you had very similar frequencies, but not all of them were sitting in the same positions.
Right.
And so that's where the differences come in. And some of yours actually were sitting in the same positions, right? So we spoke about that too. What does that mean in a relationship? Right. But, with the 22 different frequencies, for instance, one of your dominant ones is the 6th frequency, and this is your creator frequency. This is actually your soul destiny. So we know, and we talked about this, you are here to create. You're constantly creating, and you've been creating from a very young age in different verticals, right? Different careers, but you're always creating.
Yeah, definitely. It's, that's what was so fascinating, because it was almost like, and this happens with me and my clients when I do their chart readings, but it's like, for me, it was almost like you had a window, like you were kind of like, I think of the Truman Show with Jim Carrey, like that you had been like watching my life and seeing not only who I was, who I am, but also where I'm headed. And I think that's what's so empowering, you guys. And Gellyahnah, I want you to share how people can contact you and book readings with you, and also your website, and where they can find you on social media as well. Share that with the audience, and it will be down below in the description for everybody. You guys can read it there, but please share with everybody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd love to. So I have a pretty big presence on Instagram, and you can find me on there. My username is soul_contracts_practitioner. So it's Soul Contracts Practitioner, and there's an underscore between the words. I have a lot of information on there about soul contracts, and just a lot of questions in general that people ask me, like the esoteric type of questions. And then my website is yoursoulscontract.com, and soul has an S, so yoursoulscontract.com.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you. So this is probably a question you get often. How do you, or what do you think about when people, I'm sure people come to you all the time about relationships. What is your view, and through the soul contract readings, on soulmates, and or also the concept of twin flames? Do you feel that that's a legitimate thing, the twin flames? And share your views through your system on soulmates.
Well, absolutely. So I'll tell you, my personal opinion on twin flames is everyone has a completely different definition.
Yes.
So that's a difficult topic to talk about, because depending what internet page you Googled or clicked on, you're going to have a different definition. Okay.
I so agree with you.
Creator has never come through to me. So my friend Katie that I mentioned to you, and Katie's was also on Tammy's podcast. So Katie channels Creator directly, and her and I have sat together many times to channel. In fact, we actually channeled in an entire curriculum for women on how to connect with their divine soulmate.
Wow.
And so the information that came through was that the Creator doesn't use the phrase twin flame. The Creator uses the phrase twin of the soul. And that means that you have a very similar soul makeup.
Okay.
So for instance, when I was looking at you and your wife yesterday, I was like, they literally have the same energies. Like you each just one had like one different energy, right? Otherwise it was literally all the same. Now, and so one, that's rare.
Yeah.
Two, unfortunately, these shards don't tell me, oh, like these are definitely soulmate. I mean, but hello, like you're clearly soulmates, right?
Yeah, it was, oh my God, yeah.
But the way that your charts fit was actually fascinating for me to see as a reader, because I don't see that, because I think most people coming into me aren't, like, even if they are soulmates, they're, you know, we have different levels of soulmate because we all have many soulmates. So the phrase that I like to use is the divine soulmate. And that to me is the soulmate that was predetermined for you by the creator.
Wow.
It's like an arranged marriage by God.
See, and that's how I've always felt about us. You know what I mean? Because like I shared with you, there was just, so many things had to happen just for us to even meet, because it was long distance and it was through Match.com and internet. So that's really powerful that even what you're saying and what you revealed to us yesterday. So that's deep.
Yeah, and thank you. And so I don't speak about twin flames because I find most people are in some sort of victim mentality about their so-called twin flame, and for the most part, it's usually just a karmic relationship.
Okay.
Right.
And-
So now I'm also sort of washing it down, but I'm telling you what my experience has been, not to say that twin flames don't exist, and not to say that some definition of that is probably correct. I just don't know that because the creator did not give me that information. The creator said it's twin of the soul because the soul essence is very similar.
So can we have more than one soulmate in a lifetime?
Absolutely. Yes. And most of us do.
Okay.
Right. So to give you an example, my ex-husband is one of my soulmates. I've done many, many, many lifetimes with him, but he's really more of like my brother soulmate.
Oh, okay.
Right. Like my brother, my son, like him and I have a very, like, we have such a deep, deep, harmonious soul connection, but it's not that, divine romantic
Right.
soulmate connection. So that one, I know he exists. I know he's coming, but I have not met him yet. I have met one of my karmic soulmates.
And just explain the difference, though, right? I mean, and you don't have to reference it in terms of your personal experience with your husband and the karmic one, but for a client that came to you, and let's say, they had a great love and for whatever reason it didn't work out, but then the difference, let's say, then they had a karmic soulmate, and maybe they experienced the brother, soulmate experience like you, but is the karmic soulmate good, bad, indifferent? Like how could that play out in someone's life?
Well, karmic connections are usually very intense and can be very painful.
Yeah.
Right. And they're painful because they're intense. Like, this isn't just somebody, oh, I like this person. Sure, maybe we can have a good marriage. Like, I mean, because, people get married for those reasons too. That is, by the way, a karmic thing, but that's a gosh, okay, we're going down another rabbit hole. So
That's
anytime you do anything out of fear,
Right.
it's karmic. Okay, so that's step number one. Anytime you do anything out of fear, it's karmic. But the particular karmic connection I'm talking about right now is, when you meet somebody and it's a magnetic pull, and you may even know this person's so bad for me,
Yeah.
but it is just like magnets. Boom.
I've been down that hole. That's why I'm asking. And
Right?
it was not good, but
Right.
it was good, but it was not good.
Right. And if you haven't experienced an intense pull like that, then you actually don't get it. Because if I didn't experience it myself, I don't think anybody could describe to me what
Right.
it
It is
feels like.
undescribable. You're right.
Yeah, because it makes you literally crazy. It makes you spin out. It makes you do things you don't even know yourself to do. I mean, there's just like all sorts of stuff that comes with it. But the purpose for the karmic connections, like why did I in this lifetime encounter this karmic soulmate?
Right.
Well, that's because him and I have had 16 lives together, and I needed to heal I mean, I know this because I do this, for a living, and I've done a lot of work around this.
You do this every day.
But my soul really wanted to clear to heal the karma between us once and for all, because this man always hurts me, right? And I wanted to neutralize that, so that doesn't happen for us in this lifetime going forward or any other future lifetimes.
So basically, are you saying, like, if someone like you or myself, like me, experiencing that with a young lady when I was younger, that yes, there were probably multiple lives together doing this dance, but then me selecting it in this lifetime, it was for my soul to heal or evolve and learn past this experience?
Correct. And I personally don't like to use the word learn. I know a lot of people use that, but that almost sounds like you really need to learn your lesson, Right. So I like to use the word experience and heal.
Yeah, heal, definitely.
I think heal is a much better, because then you actually understand what you're doing. You see what I'm saying? Like, you understand.
Wait, but you don't know what you're doing in that moment.
You don't, but that's why I like to give people a different terminology so they understand what the purpose is, right? So the reason that two souls will decide to meet up in a lifetime to have a karmic experience is because they're being given an opportunity to actually heal it.
That's so fascinating, because okay, now I will share this and get a little personal, because I kind of want clarity. So what happens, let's say, even in intimacy, when you're connecting with someone and it is so intense and the pull is so intense? Let's say, if you actually see spirits, I saw spirits on the ceiling. Like what is that about? Because it was like probably an 8 to 9 month, like, intense love affair. But I knew, I think we both knew we were not each other's life partner. But you know what I mean? But there was so much, I think even for me, so much growth, because there were lessons that were received, I think, on both sides. I know definitely for myself that I learned, and well, it wasn't learning, like, but it was like expansion, growth, and introspection.
Right.
But even literally, like, how would you explain that if I came to you and said, oh, it was hot and passionate and I saw spirits on the ceiling? Like, what is that about?
Well, it's possible. I mean, again, I don't have her chart in front of me, but if I looked at them, I would probably see where maybe she was activating one of your own talents. And you have 4 8s in your charts, and the 8s have the gift of clairvoyancy. So she was maybe somehow activating that innate talent that you already carry for you to experience seeing spirits.
Wow. Yeah, that was definitely, I can't say it was the first time, though, because I experienced those things. So this leads me to that question, with that, because Gellyahnah has Uranus and Scorpio in the 12th house. And it is such a marker for healing energy work, delving into the spiritual realms, tapping into the collective, like real deep soul work. How is your dream life, and how do you tap in to the collective energy?
Well, I don't think I do any of that consciously.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it just is my existence and being, right? And when it's a part of us, it's kind of like your right hand. You don't really think about it. It's just there, and it does. But I will tell you, in my chart, I mean, because you said I have the marker for it. Well, in my line of work, I also have the marker for it, for constantly being tapped in.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the way that you mentioned, like, you had a dream about 9/11.
Yeah.
I had a dream about October 7th as it was happening.
Wow.
Right? Because here it was nighttime for us. So I was asleep, and I had this nightmare. My daughter and her friends were kidnapped, and I was in Israel and there were bombs going off all around me. Right. So I was asleep. Like, we didn't know what was happening, but I was, because I'm constantly tapped into the collective consciousness, I was already getting the information. Right. And that's a pretty big one. So we remember that. But the thing is, it's constant. And so with people with markers like this, I think we're always processing information. We just don't even always know, is this mine? Is this somebody else's?
Yes,
right?
exactly. Oh, that's so true. And that's what Uranus is, the spiritual awakener. And it's mine's in Libra, yours is in Scorpio, but in Scorpio, it is extremely transformative. Have you seen, separate from your marriage, but just even in dating or even just, close personal friendships, have you seen where you get downloads, visions, or dreams to maybe guide or assist some of your close friends?
I want to say yes. I mean, yes, the answer is yes. But I think most of that is still, I don't need to be in a dream state or sleep state to get that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It will come in very like I'll be driving and I'll just get a knowing.
Yeah.
It's I mean, when I'm asleep, first off, I'll be honest, I don't like to do work when I sleep. I think I just have this intention of just let me sleep, and whatever needs to happen happens. Like, I just don't even question it. I don't try to like pick and prod at my dreams, so when something is important, I'll wake up and remember it. Most of my dreams I don't remember, but I will tell you this. When I've gone through moments in my life where I was in a lot of trauma because of a relationship,
Okay.
I will connect in my sleep state. I will connect to the person's soul to have a conversation with them.
Wow.
Right. And again, I don't need to be asleep to do this, but sometimes in the sleep state, it's just because all it is literally your subconscious mind. So
Right.
I've done that before.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So share with the audience in terms of, I know you said you had just finished teaching a course, but let people know about the courses you teach and some of the work you do in terms of webinars or things that people can learn from and benefit from to gain some of this wisdom and knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. So I taught, I teach a course that's called, going deeper into your soul's contract.
Okay.
And in this course, right now, I'm not teaching people to become practitioners. I'm not teaching it from that perspective, but I'm teaching it from the perspective of them understanding their own chart deeper, for them to be able to put their friends and family's charts and to understand the relationship connections. Right. So like maybe they can look at all of their children, their partner,
The kids,
all their exes.
yeah.
Right. Like I put all my exes in this, next to my chart, and every single one of them I have a karmic connection with.
Wow.
Yeah. Every single one. It was like literally my mouth was like on that. I'm like, wow. Like,
Okay, that's
no
epic.
joke. Right. So you can see patterns in your own relationships too. So I teach people that. I'm not sure when my next live class is, but I do sell a recording of that class, which is, it's very detailed, and people have access to my live community, support community, where I answer questions for people all the time.
Okay.
And that they would actually have to access through my Instagram.
Okay. So could they just DM you, or how do they?
There's a link for it in my bio and Instagram. Okay. As I was saying it, I was about to say they can get on my website, but I was like, wait a second, I don't actually have it linked up on my website. And maybe I should go do that. Maybe right after this podcast, I will go create a link.
Okay.
Yeah, but right now it's actually live on my on the Instagram. There's a link in the bio for it. Yeah.
So I love that you brought in the family aspect, because I'm actually curious about, I have 4 sons, so I'm curious about them. But how do you, so when a parent has already passed away, can you still see soul connections? Obviously, their chart is their chart because it's based on their birth, but are things still active after life?
Yeah, things are definitely still active after life because they're still playing a role for you energetically.
Okay.
So you can pull up your, parents' charts, both of your parents, and you would be able to see how things played out energetically between you two when they were living, and how the relationship maybe evolved since they've passed.
Wow. That was a big spiritual yes for me, and I got chills as you said it, because those are the types of things that fascinate me, because I tell people, just like I tell everyone, I feel every human should get a natal birth chart reading, because it's so powerful, and then also for your kids. And I feel the same with the soul contract reading after experiencing it with you. And do you feel that, so obviously we choose our parents, but what is the role that, let's say I chose my mom and dad, but what was their role in the acceptance or receiving, what I mean, that energetic exchange of souls? Kind of explain that, because I'm sort of wondering how that plays out, that dynamic.
Well, it is a little bit different on each soul connection, so I would have to see the charts next to each other to see what was going on. But in general,
Right.
Our parents for this lifetime are our guides, but we as the children, we are their teachers. Right? Because usually the souls coming in, every generation, they're more and more evolved and awakened, or it's easier for them to step into the depth just because of where we're moving, with everything right now. So we as the children have to teach them. And, oftentimes a soul will reincarnate to parents that maybe aren't so loving, because on a soul connection, the child coming in loves the parent's soul so much. They're like, I really want to go down there. Maybe I can really help them work through their crap in this time.
Wow. Okay. That's powerful. Now, because you have the South Node pretty close to your natal moon in Aquarius, and just to give you some insight, Aquarius moons, it's, ruled by Saturn, traditional ruler, modern ruler, Uranus. But the Aquarius moon, can speak to, at some point in your life, that you could be more of the actual guide and teacher to your mother, quite literally, but that sometimes you may have felt or perceived that mom was a little emotionally detached. She was probably really highly intelligent, things like that. But how did you experience that? Because the South Node next to the moon makes me think that you and your mother definitely have some past life karma or, connections. And do you see that in the soul contract reading for yourself and your mother?
Absolutely. So I have a mother wound, and my mom and I have a karmic connection in this lifetime, a very powerful karmic connection. And I know in a past life, and one of the ones that we're working out right now, she was my younger sister.
That's the third house. Oh my God.
And she was always in my shadow. And so in this lifetime, she is now, my mom had me when she was 18.
Yeah.
Okay. So
babies having babies. Yeah.
Right. So we had more of a sisterly relationship, because, and also, if you remember, I said I lived with my grandparents for the first 8 years of my life.
Right.
So I saw them as my
parent
figure. Right. And my mom was, the older sister who found me annoying, I guess,
Oh my gosh.
So I will say my mom and I have healed beautifully. And even a few years ago, if you told me that we would have a relationship like we do today, I would tell you, you're smoking something really good, and that's never going to happen. Right.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But because of all the, thank you. But because of all the energy work and the energy healing that I do weekly, sometimes daily, her and I have been so realigned in each other's aura. It's honestly, it's profound, because what happened is the more healing I do, she gets the effects of it. So her and I have been rising together, right? And and so it's like, so again, we're healing the karmic connection. So in future lifetimes that we have together, our dynamic should not be what it was in this way.
That's so deep, and quite literally connects to your natal chart. But this is interesting, staying on that same theme line. So how do you see, because I know you have a daughter, correct?
Yes.
So how do you see, so two things, how does your mother and your daughter view and understand all that you do in your work? And then can you see any theme lines or patterns between grandma, granddaughter, daughter, mother, just the three of you, those three generations? Do you see those different connections in the soul contract for you guys?
Oh, actually, I haven't looked at my daughter's and my mom's charts together. Now that you said that, I'm like, or if I have, I don't remember, but I haven't looked at the charts.
Okay.
But my mom and my daughter, they have a great connection. There's no karma between them. So they're fine. Like, and it's always different, with grandparents and right. Like, it's like, she's not, again, she had me when she was 18. I was like annoying I'm not using her words, but I'm just saying, like, it's very different than having a granddaughter. But my mom is involved. She's around. They both think my mom is my number one fan. I mean, she thinks what I'm doing is amazing. She's always on me, like, write your book already. Like, you need to get going,
Well, so, we're getting there. That Leo North Node in the 9th house. Oh, I'm not going to let you off the hook. We'll get there in a minute, but go ahead.
No, so and my daughter thinks it's great what I do. She knows what I do is unique and different, and she'll make comments on it. Like, a few years ago, she was maybe 9. We were standing in the kitchen one day, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's like, "It's so cool that you know why I'm here." And I was like, so taken aback. I'm like, "Do you mean like your soul chart, or why you're here with me this week?" Because my ex and I share her 50-50. So I was like, wait, is she this like a deep comment, or is this like because I have, and she looks at me and she's like, "No, like, my purpose, my soul chart, why I'm here." And I was like, like, heart bursting, trying not to cry. Like, she's like, "It's so cool that you know that." And
that's awesome.
She thinks it's really cool what I do.
That's awesome. So we'll get to that Leo North Node in a second, but I'm really curious, Gellyahnah, like, how do you view all that's been going on? The world has shifted so much since 2012, and then obviously this great shift since 2020 with all that we as a collective have experienced. The X-class, M-class solar flares, this Aries total solar eclipse that we had earlier this year, the electromagnetic blast to Gaia, Mother Earth, us, being in the age of Aquarius and being in the 5D. Where do you feel the collective energy is, and where do you feel that it's going?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think it always gets darker before the light, right? I mean, I'm saying something so cliche, but
it's so real.
Right? It's so real. And I mean, I think we're right where everyone says we are. I mean, we're approaching the end, but it's, when we think the end, it's not the end.
Right.
It's the end of, I mean, we're watching everything fall apart. Like, the structure, the infrastructure of the old ways is falling apart. I will say, I think the swing of, gosh, like things swing too much to each side sometimes. So I do see, I think, people that are trying to be the light, but they are swung so far to, I don't know, how do you say this, like, very liberal place that they're actually entering darkness. It's almost like, because there's a universal code and a universal truth. Okay.
Right.
I'm all about people being open-minded and growth, but there's also a code
Yes.
that we all just sort of abide by. That's not the right word, but it's the creator's code.
Right.
Right. So you cannot like step out of the creator's code and say, we need to be more open-minded than the creator's code. Okay. So I'm trying to say this very softly.
No, and I know exactly what you're referring
Yeah.
to, and you're so right. And that's because for me, my whole life, I've been sort of a contrarian, thinking outside the box, and I've come to different awarenesses and energies and awakenings in the sense of seeing the simulation, seeing the programming of the matrix, the cognitive dissonance, and all the unlearning that we need to do from, the programming, whether it's the television, the media, the magazine. This is what a girl should be. This is what a boy should be, a man, a woman, da, 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 da. But at the same time, I think in the course correction, right? Because I even experienced it this year where I felt like my boys were dealing with like sexism in school, because we're like in a Barbie world now, that the girls were so favored over the boys, that it was like the whole fifth grade boys at my son's school were just being like beaten up by the staff and the teachers. And I was just like, wow, okay, like I understand the patriarchal system and all that, but we can't, you know what I mean? Like this shouldn't play out with children. We've got to correct things, but in a way that we are honoring, right, the divine feminine and the sacred masculine and all that, and having balance, not going too far. So exactly what you were saying is so true. But so, for example, like the human design prophecy is that the collective is vibrating in our solar plexus now, and in 2027 we're going to vibrate from our heart chakra. And so, and I really resonate with that. And I see sort of those shifts lining up astrologically. And so do you do like soul contract readings? Could you do one for like a country like America? Can you do them for like, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, things like that? Like, can you see their soul contract stuff as well?
If I pull up their names, I could. Yes, absolutely. I don't know that I've actually looked at, I think I once actually took a peek at Donald Trump, but it was maybe a while ago because I don't actually even remember anything significant to tell you from that.
Right. I'm just curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was more curious of the temper tantrums that he has. Like, where do the temper tantrums come from? I look at things like that. I try not to be overly political.
Right. No.
Because again, I see things how I see things, and most people don't. In my opinion, it's not that it's irrelevant, but it's irrelevant because I know how it's going to work out anyways. You know what I mean? So I stay out of those conversations. But sometimes I just like to check in on where is this coming from? What is the frequency?
Right. To get a understand. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
But do you see sort of, do you see more people awakening?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, so for me, majority of the people that come to me are not, well, I mean, I'll say a lot of them are into spirituality, but they're just like barely, they're at the beginning. And so many of them say to me, I've never even had a reading before. I've never done anything like this before.
Right.
They say that to me. And I think with me in particular, I have the ability to be relatable to the maybe like non-woo-woo people, right?
Yeah.
I identify as woo-woo. Like I'll be woo-woo all day long, but I can explain things in a very like grounding way as well.
Mundane 3D way, yeah.
Right. And so that resonates with the people that maybe wouldn't think to get a reading. And so many of them say, I saw your reel on Instagram, and literally in 60 seconds, you explained my entire life. And I don't even know how you did that, but I want more.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And that must be, I think, for people like us, and being in service to the collective and humanity, it can be rewarding, right? To hold space for people where they actually feel like they're seen, and maybe they've never felt seen before ever in life. And I think that that's an amazing gift that you offer to people, and that I offer to people, that is really not just inspiring, but necessary. You know what I mean? Because so often, even for people who are just into, things on an introductory level, they can feel ostracized from society, their friends, their family. Oh, you're not following, any of the religious doctrines. You're not Muslim. You're not Jewish. You're not Christian. You're not, or their books, right? And I let people know, like, hey, what we're talking about here, this is not a sin. This is still honoring God. You know what I mean? And how do you place that? Have you ever been a part, or are you in a particular religious faith or organized religion?
I'm Jewish. I identify as Jewish. I wear my star all day, every day. I went to an Orthodox school, a Jewish Orthodox school growing up. And I love Judaism, but I study Kabbalah, right? So I understand the different levels of Judaism. And I'll tell you, a lot of Jewish people within the religion don't like Kabbalah. Is a different aspect. It's that tree of life, right? And that tree of life is referenced in all spiritual
books.
What's the word? Books. Yeah. Not religions, but oh my gosh, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like even the Asian cultures will reference like similar things.
And all the different spiritual doctrines and books. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And so it's all connected through this tree of life. So the Kabbalah, it gives us a blueprint of that's that code that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And that actually is not, it is connected to Judaism, but it's not the religious practice per se, right? So I just want to make the distinction. But also in this lifetime, I was born as a Jewish female, and our soul chooses our body, it chooses our culture, it chooses what we're going to look like.
Right.
And the reason the soul does that is because this particular body is going to help me achieve what the soul wants to achieve in this lifetime.
Right.
Right. And it's the same for everybody. Yeah. So the soul chooses the body. So when somebody awakens or somebody says, I think I might be in the wrong body or the wrong gender, and they begin to change things, they may actually be hurting their soul's purpose in a particular way, right? Because the soul isn't a male or female. The soul is just the soul.
Right.
So, these are the things we have to, I don't know, this is a much deeper discussion, right? But what I'm saying is, again, what Kabbalah tells us, what the creator has said from channelings, is that the soul chooses a particular body to reach a particular purpose. And that's why the two join.
Wow. That's so beautiful. And to me, I think, I know all of this ancient wisdom and knowledge that is coming back around and being awakened and revealed. It is to help us with this shift and ascension, right? To where we're spiritually headed. And I think it's so timely. And for me, it makes me really want to bring back like the mystery schools for the youth, right? Because the school system is so low vibrational. It's very brainwashing programming, creating workers. It's got like a prison mentality. And I think about the gifts that children, and so in the soul contract, just like in most of the religious texts, people feel like the age of understanding is like 7 or 8 years old, around there. What do you see, right, through the Kabbalah with the soul contract readings, in terms of, I know as we're younger, the veil can be very thin. So we often can remember past lives or remember. I told my mother at 3 that she was my second mother. Right. And she was like, "Oh, really? Was she nice?" I said, "Yeah, oh, she was very nice." And I was straight telling, and my mom was looking at me like, "Who is this kid?" But you see that with children. So are there things 7 or 8 or, whatever age in the soul contract readings that you can kind of see that energy with children?
You mean for them to be able to tap into some of these past lives?
To tap into it, or just even, where that clear line is of that age of 7 or 8 or 9, in there.
Oh, I see. So no, the charts won't tell me that specifically, but I mean, I'll see it in their energy.
Okay.
Right. But then again, it's different because I actually didn't have any of those past life remembrances, but I also feel like I didn't want to, because now that I've actually gotten to know my soul and understand it a little bit better, there's certain things I know I don't like to interact with. So I most likely said, in this lifetime, let's not do this. Let's not do that. Yeah. So whereas for you, it's interesting that you said, you told her she's your second mother, because if you recall, when I was looking at your chart yesterday with your 8s, I said to you, you're probably not a soul that reincarnates to Earth often, right? And so you feel out of place. Whereas I've been here, like, I might hear over and over and over, and I choose it. I love it. I actually love it here. I don't know, right? But I keep coming back over and over. So, and then I probably don't need to remember all of that, because I'll tell you, the other thing is, I've looked at some of my past lives, through Akashic readings and meditations, and I mean, they're painful. Like, you come out of it with that feeling of like, I watched myself being, when we walked to the stake to be burned. There was a lifetime where I was stoned to death, right?
Now, do you tap into the Akashic yourself?
I can. I don't do it for clients. I do it for myself. I've done it a few times. And like I said, at this point, it's not really something I feel I need to anymore, because I've seen enough. Thank you. Right?
Oh my gosh.
But could I? Yes. I could.
Wow. That's really fascinating. So as we wrap up, I want you to share your information again so people can, maybe download the class you mentioned and to, watch you in the future. But also, I want to kind of get this last clarification. When you are seeing someone's soul's purpose, it can be very different from the line of work and the career they may choose. But what if someone is coming to you and they feel like they're at that crossroads and maybe it's like, listen, I did Wall Street or corporate America for 20 years. I'm burnt out and I just feel out of alignment. In the soul contract, can you kind of show them or guide them to what may be more aligned with their soul to actually, at the same time feel an alignment, but also maybe earn a different living or earn a living period?
The short answer is yes. The longer answers, they usually don't resonate with it because they don't know that aspect of themselves yet. And so when somebody's at that crossroads, I tell them your next step should be healing and energetic realignment. And on your healing journey is when you will usually discover what it is that you're meant to do next. Because it is usually, I'll see it in the charts, but if somebody's unaware, I can tell them and it won't make sense, right? And here's the example I give people. When I was 33, I went to a psychic. Again, this is when I was at the crossroads in my marriage. I sat in front of her. This is at a psychic fair, so I just picked a random one. I sat in front of her and she looks at me and she says, "You're on the wrong side of the table. You need to be doing readings for people." Those were the first words out of her mouth. And I'm like thinking to myself, great, I picked the kooky psychic out of all the psychics here, because at 33, me doing readings for people was like you telling me I'm gonna like be an astronaut or something. Like, oh, okay, So
because you were very much in business mind and corporate stuff, right?
Absolutely. I wasn't there yet. So when somebody comes to me with the example you gave me, if they're not there yet, yes, I can see it on their chart, but they won't resonate with it until they've actually experienced those own energies, their energies and their own depth to actually understand what I'm saying and how to get there.
So that's where doing the soul contract class to learn their soul contract more in depth can benefit them, correct?
Absolutely. It could be the class and also the energy sessions that I offer.
Okay, and the energy sessions, that's to really, do the spiritual work to heal. So then that way you can get more in alignment with your soul contract, correct?
You got it. Yep.
That's beautiful. So, okay, so before we get to that, I almost forgot that Leo North Node in the 9th house. So, yes, it is very essential and important for you to write a book from your heart, being the regal queen, being Gellyahnah, and being the mentor and the teacher. And it's something that will, reach people in foreign lands. And, you're already in a foreign land in terms of where you were born. But, when you have the North Node in Leo, you could really experience like Leo Sun Moon risings coming to help you on your destined path. The North Node matures between 42 and 48 years old. And so do you already recognize in your soul the obviously you already do the teaching and mentoring, but do you recognize where you need to go with this book?
Yeah, I've seen 4 that I'm going to write. Actually, one was like shown to me yesterday. I think it was like start with this one. I was like, okay, sounds good. But I've seen 4. I see their names. I see they all look a little bit different.
Right.
And it's funny. Like I'm almost laughing because at first it was 1, then it was 2. And so I'm like, okay, I'm like a little behind. Like now they're showing me 4. I'm like, okay, I need to get on this. So next year, that is one of my priorities, is to actually give myself time to start writing the book.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, Miss Gellyahnah, this has been so informative and amazing. And share with the audience again where they can follow you, the website, all those amazing nuggets, because I know people are going to want to connect with you. And I'm sure you have a pretty long wait list. Can people still get on the wait list? Can they say, hey, I saw you on BigEAstrology. Can you put me on the wait list? Like anything like that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I am booked out for the rest of the year, and I do have a waiting list. Again, they can access all of that through my Instagram with the link in my bio. There's direct links for everything.
Okay.
But I do offer the digital soul contract reading, which is really the number 1 selling product. And what that entails is I'll generate your chart and I'll send you your unique chart. And then you get access to my video library that will give you the explanation of every frequency in your chart and where it sits. Right. So it's very informative. It's very detailed. It has amazing reviews.
It's just not live with you, but they could still get the information.
Correct. They can still get the information. Yeah. If they want to do a live session, I have mentees underneath me. And so again, they can schedule that through the links in my bio. There's direct links there to schedule with somebody other than me. Again, I do have a waiting list going into next year, and I'm not really sure what that's going to look like because I'm not quite there yet, but it's all a possibility.
Okay, wonderful. And that is the soul_contract_practitioner.
Correct. Yeah. And contracts has an S. Yeah. Soul Contracts Practitioner. I think when you start typing it into Instagram, I pop up. So
that's good. That's good. I want everybody to be able to connect with you, follow you so they can really learn this wisdom. And, what I love is that on your Instagram, you actually, it's like you're doing like questions, random questions that people would ask, and then you answer it. So that's really helpful. And it gives people the insight to I think of the FAQs on someone's website, like you really give them so much information So that can be really powerful. So actually, last question, what is the website to look up the soul contracts? Like what technology do you use?
Well, it's a software.
Okay,
It's not mine. It's my teacher's, and it's subscription based. So I don't know if.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that anybody could just get it. Is that what you're asking? Like how?
Right.
Yeah.
Because with astrology, we've got, different softwares like Astro Gold or this Fire, but we also have the different websites where you can just put in your data. Same thing with human design. You can put in your data and then the chart will appear.
Yeah, it's not quite like that because this is so niche.
Right.
So you could maybe get your chart, but it's not going to make sense to there's no explanations with it. It's not like you really need to be there with a reader or
Right.
you know what I mean? Like this is so niche. It's not quite out in the world like astrology or human design yet. So.
All right. Well, you know what? That's part of your mission to take this so that everyone knows the magic and the soul energy that Gellyahnah is here to share with the collective. So thank you so much for the work that you do and will continue to do, and just being such a light in this world. And can I ask you this? Like, do you feel or do you sense that your daughter may follow in some of your footsteps in any way?
She might. I don't know, honestly. She's very talented in ways that I'm not. So her and I we're very different, actually.
Yeah.
Like she's a complete artist, and you and her have the same soul destiny. Like you're both here to create, right? So she's a lot more of a creator, and she also has like an engineering mindset in addition to her creativity, which just blows me away. Like I mean, I connect dots, but the way she connects dots is even a whole other level. So, and where I had a bit more of a tumultuous, had to learn how to survive experience, my daughter doesn't have that. She's like a little fairy. Like she's got like protections around her. You know what I mean?
So just a lot of love.
Yeah. So she's having a very different existence and experience. And I don't really know what that means in the scheme of things, but she just like waves her little wand and things happen for her. I don't know. Well, I have no idea what that's going to turn into.
That's wonderful, though. So the floor is yours. Do you have like a parting message for the audience and for the collective? If people are dealing in some of these lower vibrations or frequencies like fear and hate and gossip and different things, would you want to share anything with the collective and parting wisdom on them?
Well, I would say if they're listening to your podcast, then they're already working on themselves and they're searching. And I would just say, keep going deeper because all the answers are within us. The soul knows exactly what it came here for. So stop resisting with the human mind and let your soul come forward and guide you, because your soul will never misguide you.
I love that. That is so pure and so beautiful, my friend. This has been an honor and a pleasure. And thank you so much for joining me and the audience today on my show. And you guys, listen, please like, share, and subscribe. But as I always say, you don't know who will receive this message. So share it with a friend. Share it on your Facebook, your X, your LinkedIn, whatever, because when people are ready and you don't know when they're going to be ready, just sharing it with someone, they may listen to this and it just changes and sparks everything for them. So, don't ever be shy in sharing information, even if you think they won't receive it, because they just may be ready. Okay. And as we all know, right, Pluto's going retrograde in Capricorn for the last dance, September 1st and November 19th. And many more souls are going to awaken in the next 3 to 6 months. So it's going to be a fascinating and exciting time. So, Gellyahnah, thank you again. Episode 231. 1. This was amazing, and bye, everybody.